Hi, this is Mike at WinCNC, and I'm going to show you how to make a custom hole for the WinFence software. It's easy to make rectangles and circles with the software, but you cannot make custom holes without using some sort of a CADCAM software to create the custom holes. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But on this one, I'm going to actually copy a hole from a website on the internet and create our custom hole from that. So here's how that would work. First thing I'm going to do is go over to my CAD-CAM software, get it up here, and I will go down and pull up this. I will hold the Alt key down and push Print Screen. Minimize this, come to here, I will go to Edit and Paste, and now we have this. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel and zoom in on this. Going to click this icon right here that says Trace Bitmap, and I could go to black and white and do it, but I'm going to go to Colors, and since I want everything that's not white, I'm going to select white, and that just means that the color I told it to trace around will be this color. Well, you can see here that what it's going to trace around is everything but the white. So I'll select this and preview and apply, close, and the next thing I want to do is to delete the bitmap image. I will zoom in here, select this. Now this is all grouped together. This is all grouped together. So in order to be able to use this, I have to ungroup it. So I will hold the Control key down and click the U, or I can right click and go to Ungroup Objects and click there. Now it's ungrouped. So I can come in here, and if I select from right to left, just drag a mouse across, whatever I touched with that would be selected. So I will do this. I want to delete all this because the only thing that I want is that outside parameter there, and the same there. So now I'm just going to move this to a different layer so that I can just work with this. So I will go here, I'm going to right click, I'm going to say move to layer, new layer, and I will say, let me see what the name of this was. It is lattice rail, 2 by 3.5. Minimize again, and that's what I'm naming this. And I want this to be hidden, so I don't want it to be visible. I'll go there. Now I'm just going to hit the F key and zoom out to the entire sheet. I'm going to select it all by holding down the Control key and hitting the A key. And I'm just going to hit delete and just delete everything. Now, the part that I didn't delete was on my other layer. I'm going to turn these two layers off and select this one and come in here. And there is still more work to do to this. I'm going to roll that mouse wheel again. Come down and I select it. I just click on it to select it. I'm going to hit the letter N as a node. And I'm going to hover over this and right click. And I'm going to say cut vector. I'll do the same thing here. Right click, cut vector. Okay. And now I can delete this part. As you can see, now that's all gone. But I don't have a closed shape here. And to make this work correctly, I have to have a closed shape. So the easiest way that I can do that is to come over here on this row to this join close vectors with a straight line. So I just click this, and you can see that it joined it. Now it's one shape. So now I have what I need. It's probably the wrong size. It should be 3.5 inches wide here, 3.5, and 2 inches tall here. And I'll apply that and close. I'm going to make sure, now I've got it selected. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create 2 of these. The first thing I want to do is rotate it. I'm going to rotate this minus 90 degrees and turn it up like that. I am going to move this till it's centered on this mark right here, because that's going to be my 0 point. The way I'll do that is this, and align to material, and that's saying move it to the center. So I did that. I'll close. And I'm going to right click and copy this to another layer. And I'll say lattice, rail, 2x3 to x 3.5 down. And I'll make that layer invisible. And just so we can tell them apart, I'll make it red. And if I come up here and select that now, oops, right here, you can see that it's still there, and it's still upright. Now I need to rotate that 180 degrees. And now I'll hide it. So I just go over, and, well, maybe the first thing I should do is to make sure that it is centered. So I'll select it. And one more way that I could do this other than clicking this is to hit the F9 key. So I'll hit the F9. I'll close this, hit the F9 key, and it is now centered. So I'm going back and hide that now. And I'll work with the up one. Okay, now we have our shape, but there's more work to do. So the next thing that I want to do, and this is for the file so that I can work with the file correctly, I'm going to make this the same width as the hole and the same height as the hole. And you can see that it's 40 thousandths deep on Z. I'm going to zero this on the machine surface and OK. And now I'm going to come to the other side, and I'm going to work on a toolpath. So I'll click this up here, switch to toolpath commands, and it opens this window. Close this. I will select this and come here, and I am going to work with my 1/4 inch end mill. Have that selected, and I'm going to cut to the inside, and I have that selected. Here would be on the outside. We don't want outside, we want to the inside. So I will calculate this, and it's telling me that I'm cutting deeper than the maximum material thickness. I'm cutting a 1/2 inch deep, and the material thickness is 40 thousandths. But just in case it was thicker, I'll set it to a 1/2 inch deep. Click OK. And now, if we come back over to this tab, I have this selected, which makes it so that I can see where the actual tool would cover. And you can see that that it's going to work fairly well. It's going to cut a lot out. If I come back to the 3D view and click Preview Visible Toolpath, and I can double click this right here and delete it, and there's what our toolpath would look like. That's what our hole would look like in our post. Okay, now I'm going to close this. I'm going to reset that, reset the preview, close this, come over here. I'm going to unselect this one and select this one. Come here. And now we have our down one. So we select it, come back to here, and we could also name these if we wanted to right here, and we'll say this is that, and we're going to leave everything else the same because it's exactly the same as the other side. And I'll calculate that. Tells me the same error, that I'm cutting too deep, but it's okay on this. I can preview that one. Double click this part to delete, and there's our hole. Go over here and look at it if we want to. You can see, now there's a little bit right here that 1/4 inch bit can't get down into that corner. And that could possibly be a problem, but more than likely it'll be okay. All right, so now I will close this. I need to output these, so I'm going to right click this one and rename it. And I will just call this, I can rename it here, or I could have renamed it where I made the toolpath. So I'll just rename it here. Lattice rail up. 2x 3.5, because we want some references to size, although that's really not as important because it will be in the file. 2x 3.5. And now, so we'll start with our down one. We'll just go here, and our WinFence post-processor is already selected. I will click Save. And by the way, I'm using Aspire for this. I'm using Vectric Aspire, but for this type of hole, as long as you're not going over a 24-inch long hole, there is a program that Vectric sells called Cut2D Desktop that would work very well for creating these holes, and it costs less than $200. I believe it's somewhere around $150. We do not sell Cut2D Desktop. We sell Cut2D Pro, which is unlimited on size, and it's not a bad program because you can do other things other than just cut holes with it. So I'm going to save this into my WinCNC folder, and I'll click Save. Okay, now I want to uncheck this one, and I want to check this one, and I want to save. And we've got our name there. It names it the same as the toolpath. I'll click Save. And now I will go to the WinFence program, and I've drawn a couple of materials here, but I have no holes. So I'm going to create a couple of holes here, and my length is going to be 3.5, and my width will be 2. My radius, I can say 0 on this because that doesn't matter on this particular one. I want to name these the file names. So this will be lattice rail up, and it is 2 x 3.5, and this is important, .tap. And this is also important. Without those two things, this will not work correctly. You need to name the hole, you need to make the size of the hole the actual size of the material that we created it on, which is 3.5 by 2. That's the overall size of the hole. And we need to name it the name of the file that we created, and we need to check this box called subprogram. So I will save. Now I'm going to leave this hole the same dimensions here. The only thing I'm going to change here, I'm going to go in here, because I have two of these that are almost identical, and I'm going to say down. No, not Don. And I'm having a little trouble there. I'm going to shorten this, take this out. That will not work because I've ran out of space. Tap. Now I'm going to make sure that subprogram is checked. I'm going to have to go into the WinCNC folder and rename this file. I ran out of space here and I couldn't save it all. So I'll click Save. I need to go into the WinCNC folder, and here on the down hole I need to come here and take this off because my file name was too long. So now I can come here and I can go to manual, and I'm just going to do this on a short post so that you can see how it's going to work. Choose a 40 inch, chose a 40 inch 5 by 5. I want here, and I am going to go manual. Here I will select down, and I'll put a spacing of say 5, and add, and I will do up and a spacing of say 23 and add, and I will click run. I'll come over to WinCNC, and I created a file called manual post.tap here. So that's what I need to look for. So I'll just click the open, and I'm going to click the eyeball here, and I put it out of range, but you get the idea. There would be my top one, there would be my bottom one. I needed to go here and I think here. Now I'll go back here and run, and I will select it again, and there you go. It has a down and an up, and that's how we would do it. The one thing about this is if you invert this post, like if you put the top down or whatever, these holes will remain the same as they are. In other words, they'll be kind of backward. Let me show you how that would work. A lot of people invert this, so they put the top at the bottom. And I'm going to come back over here again and run this again. I'm going to eyeball it again. Now you'll see I did not change the holes around, but now the bottom of the post is up here and the top of the post is down here, which means that I would have to swap these around to get them to look correctly. So when you're making custom holes, you got to be careful about how you align things. It would be an easy fix. Just come in here, delete this, and delete this, and I think what I need here is up and say 5 and add, and down and add, and run and eyeball again, and there you go. Now they're in the right positions. I hope I made some sense here with this, and if you have any questions, give me a call and I'll be happy to go over it with you. Just call WinCNC, Microsystems WinCNC, and ask for Mike. Thanks for watching. Hi, Mike at WinCNC here again, and after I did this video, I thought about something that would probably make this particular hole work a lot better. I noticed that this little tongue that was sticking down in here, and if I click this, you'll see what I'm talking about. Go over to here and look at it. This would probably snap off. I don't know that for sure, but more than likely it would snap off while you're cutting the post and make a jagged hole here at the edge. And right here on these corners, if we come back over to the 2D, you can see if I roll in here, I'm just rolling the mouse wheel there, that it didn't quite get this out of here, and it probably would make it tough anyway to slide that particular rail into the slot. Probably the best thing to do in that case would have been to cut that center tongue section out. And the way that I would do that is probably to come to here at the lowest section of this. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to hit the letter N as a node, and I'm going to cut this right here in this lower section right here. And I'm going to try to find the lowest part, and I think that's right here. I'm going to hit the letter C right here. I'll right click. I'll tell you, I'll right click and hit cut vector. And I'll move over to this one and do exactly the same thing right here. I'm going to hover over this, and in this case I'll just since I've got node editing selected, I'll just hover over it and hit the letter C. It does exactly the same thing. Now what I've done here is I've actually cut this section out, and now I can click it, make sure that it's highlighted, and hit the delete key, and that goes away. I'm going to go back over to the other side here to my editing tools, and with this selected, I'm going to go back over to that join a closed vector with a straight line, select that, and now if we come in, you can see that we have a solid shape here, no tongue coming up inside to mess things up, and I believe that everything would work better. I'm not sure about aesthetics, I'm not sure about how well that would look, but I believe it would be a better cut. So what I'm going to do now, since I was working with this one, I'm going to come back over. I have to select it again because I've changed it. And I'm going to recalculate. I'm not changing anything else. I'm just going to recalculate it. I'm going to get that same error that I'm trying to cut too deep. And right there it is. I just click OK. And there's my new toolpath. I am going to reset the preview, and as you can see, it's going to slice right across that tongue, and the tongue will no longer be there. So I'm going to reset the preview and preview visible toolpath, and you can see now that that's all one shape. And if I double click this waste material, it goes away, and you can see that that's going to be our new hole. That would be a very easy fix for the other one also. If I come back over to the 2D view, I will turn this layer off and select this one. I will roll my mouse wheel in again, come to this one, and I will try to select the lowest, well, the highest in this particular case, and hit the letter N as in node editing, and I'm hovering over it. I'll right click and go to cut vector. I'll move over to the other side and pick that highest spot again, and it looks like right here, and just somewhere on this line. I'm trying to pick somewhere close to the center. I'll right click this time and cut vector, roll back out. I want to hit the escape key and get out of node editing. Click on this and select it because I've cut it out now. Hit the delete key, or I can right click and click delete here. I will hit the button here, switch over to my editing tools. Since I have this selected, I can go over and select my join close vectors with a straight line, and now I've got the same thing. So I come back over to the other side, to the toolpath section. This is the toolpath for this particular one. I double click it, select my item, and I'm going to hit the letter F as in Frank, or full view, and I'm happy with what it looks like. I'll leave everything the same as it was, and we're going to get that error again. I'll click calculate. There it is. And now if we preview this one, double click the waste, and there's our hole. Now your rail will have that tongue section in it, but I still think that's probably going to be a better way to cut. You'll have a little notch in your post where there's no filling inside the rail, but I think that will be basically hidden without any problems. And now when you output the two tap files here, this is what it would cut in the post. I hope that makes sense to you, and I think that will make a better, cleaner hole without any possibility of it not fitting, and without it having the possibility of snapping off and causing a ragged hole. Thanks for watching.